Contests and competitions are common practice for most trading card games. Of course, you have trainers competing against one another to decide who is the best of the best, but there have also been contests where everyone and anyone can enter. Most of you probably know about the Pokemon Illustration Contest, hosted last year as well as in 2022. The Pokemon Company calls out to artists all over the world to draw and submit their work for the potential of it being printed as an actual physical Pokemon card. Thousands upon thousands of contestants submit their best work, but only 3 of them can be crowned the winner. These contests have seen their fair share of controversies, especially with last year's having AI submitted art, but that was quickly fixed. Also, the way in which these cards are distributed to the public hasn't been handled very well. However, these types of contests have been a thing for a very long time, all the way back to the Pokemon TCG's beginnings in 1997. I wasn't even born then. There have been a lot of contests held both by the Pokemon Company as well as Wizards of the Coast back when they distributed the game's cards. A lot of these contests were mainly targeted towards children, seen as that is the primary audience of the franchise, asking them to draw a specific Pokemon or one of their favourite Pokemon, which would then be printed as a trading card. Most of these contests were only held in Japan, with very few being hosted in the West. However, there was one contest which was a lot more unique than simply drawing a Pokemon. Players were instead tasked with taking pictures of Pokemon for the chance of them being printed as trading cards. Now you may be wondering, how exactly you're supposed to take a picture of something that doesn't exist? Am I supposed to take a picture of my Game Boy screen, or a Pokemon plushie, or an action figure? Well, the answer to those questions was the video game Pokémon Snap. Released in 1999 for the Nintendo 64, Pokémon Snap is a first-person on-rails photography game where you take pictures of different Pokémon. As you play the game, you will unlock more and more areas having different Pokémon, along with obtaining different items and tools which can help you snap a better picture of certain Pokémon, or are needed in order for them to appear to begin with. At the end of each stage, you choose your best pictures and submit them to Professor Oak, who will rate and score each one based on certain aspects such as pose, centering, and if the Pokemon is performing a certain action. It's a very simple yet very relaxing and fun type of game. Trying to beat your high score of each Pokemon is always a challenge. Discovering how to make certain Pokemon appear and when the best opportunity is to snap that perfect shot. Plus, this was the first Pokemon game to have 3D models for each Pokemon, as well as being the first spin-off game on a home console. The game even got a sequel over 20 years later for the Nintendo Switch titled New Pokémon Snap. Ah yes, the classic Nintendo, slapping the word new in front of a title to make it seem different. Players of Pokemon Snap or Pokemon Stadium could even bring their game cartridge to one of these machines, named the Pokemon Snap Station, where you could print out your in-game photos as stickers, which for the time was pretty cool, given today's day and age where every console has a screenshot button and printing and sharing your said photos being very accessible. Sadly, these machines were only available in North America, Japan, and Australia, only lasting for around a year. However, Japanese players also had the opportunity to get their photos printed as official Pokemon trading cards through a contest. 2 contests in fact. One hosted by CoroCoro magazine and another by Nintendo's own TV show 64 Mario Stadium. These 2 contests would go on to create some of the rarest and most unique Pokemon cards ever to be printed. This is the story of the Pokemon Snap contest cards. I want to start off by saying all the information you're going to hear comes from an article on Pokumon.com. This video is going to be a heavily abridged version of the article, so I will leave a link to the website in the description in case you want to read it for yourself. The first of the 2 contests was hosted by CoroCoro magazine and was advertised in the May issue. Players who wanted to enter the contest were tasked with taking photos of Pokemon in the game Pokemon Snap, then getting them printed as stickers using one of the Pokemon Snap stations, and finally attaching one of the stickers to a postcard and sending it to the address mentioned in the magazine, along with their own personal information. The deadline for this contest was June 14th, so players had around a month to take their pictures, print one of them, and then send it off. The contest was also advertised in the official Trainers magazine, which even came with a Pikachu promo card featuring a picture taken from Pokemon Snap as the artwork, giving participants a glimpse of what their card might look like if they won the contest. The second contest was announced on June 10th during the 64 Mario Stadium TV show hosted by Nintendo. Entering the contest was done in the exact same way as with the CoroCoro magazine. Participants would take a photo in the game, print it as a sticker, and then mail it off. The winners of both contests were officially announced in the August issue of CoroCoro, as well as on the 64 Mario Stadium program, respectively. The winners had to send off their Pokémon Snap game cartridge to Nintendo so that they could print the cards for the winning photos. Each winner received 20 copies of their card, however the winners of 64 Mario Stadium only received 15, which actually makes them more rare and sought after than the CoroCoro winners. Each winner also received a free Nintendo 64 game of their choice as compensation for the wait time. There were also 15 runner-ups who received an adult and child ticket for the upcoming second Pokémon movie titled Pokémon the Movie 2000, so they received the equivalent of a $10 gift card. In total, there were 10 winners, 5 from each contest. The winners were, and I'm sorry if I butcher any of these names, Yuki Tanaka, Yuka Matsubara, Ryuichi Abe, Mina Akuhara, Hiroyuki Sasaki, Yui Tanaka, Kaori Somiya, Tsukasa Hosono, Natsu Sato, and Miyuki. Of course, with the exclusivity of these cards, as they were only given out to the winners and no one else, they're bound to fetch a pretty penny on the secondary market. And yes, some of the winners did sell those extra copies, after all they each received 20, but a few winners actually gave the extra copies away to friends and family, or just kept them. Strangely, some of these sold listings for these cards were under the name Yuichi Kono, who wasn't even one of the winners of the contest, but was believed to be one of the original developers for the Pokemon TCG rule set. I'm guessing they just had a couple of spare copies just lying around in the office one day and he swiped them up. And he would end up swimming in yen by the end of it. He sold 3 copies of the Bulbasaur, 2 for 1.5 million yen and 1 for 2.1 million, 2 copies of Gyarados, 1 for 784,000 yen and another for 1.8 million, 2 Koffing, 1.8 and 1.2 million, 3 Charmanders for 1.6, 1.3 and 1.65 million, 2 Squirtles for 1.5 and 1.2 million, 2 Chansey for 1.8 and 1.5 million, and lastly 2 Articuno for 1.8 and 1.5 million yen. So in total he made 25,834,000 yen, which is roughly $180,000 just off of spare copies of these contest cards. As I said before, some of the winners did sell extra copies of the cards themselves or just gave them away. The Magikarp appeared in a book-off in Hirabi back in 2022, which means someone walked into the book-off and traded this card in. I'm not sure how much they received for it, but the book-off had the card listed for 3.3 million yen, reducing it down over time to 2.3 million, but it didn't sell for that much. It instead sold for 13,645,001 yen before tax, which is roughly $95,000. YouTuber maxmoefoePokemon famously bought a copy of the Gyarados for 500,000 yen, presumably from the winner of the contest. I'll leave a link to his video in the description. A single listing of the Pikachu popped up in 2019 but hasn't sold, and the seller seems to keep increasing the price constantly. The Poliwag winner sold 15 copies of their card through public and private sales. The Charmander winner gave away 10 copies of their card to friends and sold one of the remaining copies for 8.9 million yen. And a copy of the Articuno card sold on Mandarake auction in 2021 for 6.4 million yen. And that's the story of the Pokemon Snap contest cards. One of the few times the Pokemon Company has tried something different with a contest while making it interesting, asking players to use their skills in a different field of art being photography, and by extension using one of their own games as a way for anyone to enter the contest. There are many people in the world who might not be able to draw, so this contest was a way for those people to have a chance at competing. Some of the winning photos are also very creative and funny. Most people probably know about the Pikachu one due to how iconic the image is. It's just a super up close image of Pikachu's face, but it works. I'm not sure how many images were submitted in total, but someone or a group of people had to look at every single one of them and pick the best ones. There might have been others that didn't quite make the cut. After all, there were 15 runner-ups, but their submitted pictures were never shown to the public. I hope that the Pokemon Company will do something like this again in the future. I do like the illustration contests, but not everyone can draw. Plus, it would be cool if they held a contest in a more unique way. Most video games nowadays have a photo mode of some sort, so maybe we could utilize that feature and task players with taking unique screenshots of certain Pokemon. There are so many possibilities for getting everyone involved than just drawing, which again is something not everyone can do. For now, the Pokémon Snap contest cards will remain one of the few times the Pokémon Company tried something different and unique.